Hi, it is IK. Welcome to React Redux useState. useState. 2 years ago, when I started to learn Angular, and 1 year ago, when I started to learn React, I didn't mind that my job will be fighting with confusion, big confusion. Look at now. Increment. Here is this video is about useState, and again you will see big confusion. What confused us in learning React? What confused me in learning React? Here is I add one counter here. Refresh. A value for only increment. It is locally that counter don't need Redux, but here is very important for understand hook useState. Let's get coding. Here it is, function counter. I post it in single page AS. I must write this import useState from React, and it is here is a function counter. It is functional component. This is functional component here, and I use it in principal default export component single page. Here it is in return section. Here it is. It is a React element of this function counter. And state. Look at this. It is destructured assignment. Destructured is assignment. First confusion is destructured assignment. That on left side we have two variable, and right side is function useState, and initial value is 0. It means that 0 will be variable counter. Here it is, visible. Counter will be initial state, because here is 0. Hook useState, function useState. But left side at first confused us how we named. Okay, we must know that there is a two variable here. The structured assignment is something excellent, because we have two variable named variable what we can use in next row, in next places in that code. Two variables on the left side. Concretely, this is array with two members. It is named members. Okay. Counter, set counter, and we can call it what we. Okay, let's go ahead. Here is increment, object increment, and equal function, equal arrow function. Look at it is arrow function, and without arrow function there is no parameter, and in body of arrow function we have a function set counter. We now know that this second variable is function set counter. In JavaScript, function and variable is function is variable and variable is function. Set counter means set function, but look at now x. I named it x, and in x as parameter set counter. There is a function for parameter. It means it is possible that in JavaScript function is variable, and function can go as parameter, for parameter or argument in some function. Here is a set counter function, and parameter of set counter function is arrow function. Now, interesting. We can write what we want, but always we won't give name descriptive name, not x, y, z, descriptive name. Now I give name not descriptive. It is x, like some variable x, and in the body that variable what coming as parameter, that variable plus 1. What it means, the descriptive name would be previous counter, variable, and here previous counter plus 1. It means state is counter. Now we look at state is counter, and here it is in curly brackets. It is counter, variable counter, and here is descriptive name is previous counter equal previous counter plus 1. Set counter here we can give name now x and y, xy, but again we have color blue and yellow, but it is not descriptive name. But what I want to say that there is a rule that first variable here is always a state, and the second variable is always set state. Set state. Second variable is function set state. Here is look at, there is no, we must write here what? Say you what? Must write here y. And what we must write here? We must here x. All working as before. 1, 2, 3, 4. But we never give x, y, z, but we want to give this descriptive name for better maintenance. With the name of variable x, y, we don't know what is it, and if it is if we have a counter, it is logical that we call it counter. And always second member we call set counter. And we know that and counter here, counter, and here is a set counter. This function counter, it is component only here, what I use locally, and that component I don't use Redux. I use only useState hook. useState hook is from React. It means that useState work only locally. Local, and here it is how it work local. Here it is state counter value, the declaration of left side declaration variable, equal right side is assign what we assign, and useState as hook. There is a parameter to write initial value concretely of our counter, and left side set use always give us variable and function. But you can say that here now we have a named to variable, what we use later. But we know that variable set counter is function. And now again very interesting that set counter or set state, if we have here state, it is very logical state, and here set state set state, and here state, and again all as before set, but here set state, now this moment state, set state function, there is a for parameter always arrow function. Parameter of that arrow function is previous value, previous state, and previous state parameter, and in body of that arrow function we have previous state plus 1 now in this moment. No important what we write here, that we write x, and here it is x. Result is the same. Always parameter of this arrow function is previous state. What state? Here it is state. What is previous state in the beginning, in the first loading? First state is 0. Let's go look at 0. Refresh, 0. When I click, 0 plus 1 equal 1. Here it is. 1 is previous. When I click, previous plus 1 would be 2. Previous plus 1 would be 3, etc. And I ask you, there is a people who will not be confused with this liberty of coding, and because of this, reducer is less coding than before, than in others programming language. Only one row, but give a lot of data. Give us two variable, and we must know what useState give us, and we must know the structured assignment and what give us useState. And that is not important how we named that members of array, but we now know that always is first name is state, and the second name is set state. But the best is call it with name, because there is a different state. We see in Redux now is okay, this is one state, but it is better when we have here counter, that it is state counter. And here set counter. And now here counter, and here counter, and here prev counter, prev counter plus 1. Excellent. When we understand that, useState, concretely speak about that hook. It is local hook for a local mutate. We mutate this state. Here is a visible part. It is return. It is division HTML. Inside that division, we see value column, and in curly brackets we see counter, and that counter will be mutate, useState mutate. useState mutate, and only mutate as this by set counter. Take care a little about syntax. Object increment is action. What we said, action, we don't know, does it action type, action object, or action creator? It is all that in JavaScript, and because it is confusion. Increment is reducer, but here is locally. We don't use Redux, But when increment is reducer in Redux, we write this here. Now this increment action, it is action, that action increment equal arrow function, and here is a parameter, there is nothing, there is no state and action here, because action is here. And it is empty, not state and not action here, nothing, parameter, but in body we have a set counter. It is callback. Every time when we click here, when we click on button, we call action increment. We call action increment. Increment. And that function increment callback, there is a closed function. Set counter is closed function. Every function inside a function is closed function, and that properties, that possibility, help us, possibility of JavaScript, that possibility, because of that possibility, JavaScript is possible to have callback function, and the increment function, callback set counter. Callback is some phenomenon of functional programming, and in this case it is JavaScript, because there is no possibility that have some obstacle between increment called and callback function, because increment have callback function inside yourself curly brackets, inside of function block, and that function cannot get out. There is no obstacle between that we said parents function and child function. And when function, parent function is called by onClick, that parent function, there is always with yourself callback function, and it is connection between parent and child like that is very, very hard. There is no space between that can some happen what we don't want, and JavaScript is a lot of, and our React and the Redux is a lot of callback function. But take care, and thinking about that, here it is increment action equal arrow function, but with the arrow function there is no parameter, but in the body we have a set counter function, and the parameter of set counter function is arrow function previous counter plus 1, previous counter plus 1. It is a lot of job for useState, a lot of job behind of scene. We have only 3 position here, three statement here 1, 2, 3. And in that 3 statement, 3 location in this code, there is a lot of job. What before that, all job before in some other language would be 10, 20 row of code, 100 maybe. Because useState is a big job behind the scene, in background. Must do lot of job and help us to don't code ourselves. Function counter. I arrested function counter here in this application and load it, send it in repository in GitHub. Because it's excellent example about useState. Now, when we go back in our useState, we have useState, simplest one is always the same, but simplest element is add user form. Add user form, why simplest? Because add user form, there is only add user form users. Add user forms, there is only one input, or counter by amount. Also, there is one input box. And here is a username. And here it is, user slice, add user form. Here it is, import useState. Here is useState cooperate with dispatch. useState prepare local mutation, did local mutation, local variable, and new local state give to dispatch. How? Here it is again. Take care where you write this. You write this inside this default export add user form here, this component, and inside that component you don't write it outside. All it I must know to speak you. All that you experience with practice. With practice, you must do practice. You must open blank page and type with your hand. Same thing what you see here. Blank page and start type, and you will see how many detail you don't know, because there is a lot of detail. Okay. A constant username and set username, you see. Again, descripted name, username, set username. And this is the structured assignment. We now know here is initial value nothing, empty. But if we write A, we will have, look at A. A is starting, but of course we don't need it. and now is empty. useState. Now we know all about useState, and we are not confused. This is something known to us. And here we have a user's name and set username. Let's got to see what is it on user changed. It is event. It is event. It is blur event. It is event when oh, here it is. Here is click. It is focus. Event focus. When I write typing, okay. But now when I get out, in that moment, get out is event on user changed. On user changed. What is here important? This event we can call again one big confusion. On user changed is we named it. We named it with the description name. It is not JavaScript event. JavaScript event is blur, focus, blur. But this is on blur, on focus. But this is object, what we named descriptive, give descriptive name. But look at now that it is arrow function. And that arrow function, we write here E. It is mouse over, and teachers in build teacher said me that it is parameter E and can be any. Okay. It is E. We call E because it is about event. I try to write again X, and here I must write X. Parameter X, and in the body of arrow function we have a set username, but this function set username, and all is as before. All is as before. Posts users. All work as before. Nothing happened. Again, set username know what to do. Set username know that parameter is event, and on blur event. All that must be coding in useState hook, and it is even and better to call it event. And here is event, but every event there is properties target, and that we cannot write X target, and it means that set username function know that parameter what we write, it is event, and they know that it is on blur event. Get out with the mouse from input box. and that set username. Now we must that parameter right here dot target must be target, and the target dot value, target is properties of event, dot value is properties of target. What is target? Target is input box. Here it is. We have input box, and the input HTML element is target. Here it is. That target input, there is a username here. Value is username. And on change, it is argument of input element, and that on change is argument of this element, and on change is event on change. What on change? On change value, username. Call function on user changed. When this happens, call this function, and that function would be called, here it is, that function on user changed equal event, and in body set username event.target.value. Target, what is target.value? Here it is. This is target. Target is input, and value is target is this input, and the value target.value is username. And this moment will be mutate value of input box, and new value, where it is new value, here it is username. It is new value, previous username, and next username, and that username waiting for other code, waiting for dispatch that new username, local state, waiting that we click on a button, and that would be called save user clicked and dispatch activate. Here it is, constant, and dispatch activate user added. User added is action creator, and parameter is username. And here it's username. It is what mutate useState, and in this variable waiting that we click waiting, we can see that variable username memorize and keep value, and when we click on button, here it is, when we click on now that value, it is username, and it's waiting that I click save user, that dispatch method take it to Redux to reducer. Back to our topic of this video, useState. Look at how many possibility, many facts for confusion. About this we spoke. It is the structured assignment. But now we see this. Set username know what to do. Here parameter must be, it is event. And set username expect what we write here, expect event. And parameter mutate value, target value, by immutable way. Because of that, we don't mutate directly, but we mutate by function, by hooks, set useState. Every hooks start with useState. useState is here that we change value, that we mutate value. We mutate by useState. And this function is predictable. That function know what is here and what to do with that. And that function know. And that function need parameter. Parameter is always here is event. We speak about parameter. That parameter coming here, it is event what happened in input, and the target value will be value what momentarily is there, and that value is what we type. We must get out, type and get out. In that moment, value is that what we type. But all that, there is a sense. But at first, there is nothing sensed. We must connect all that. And look at onChange. onChange is argument of input. And onChange here is listener. And this function is listener. onChange call function. Call function. When will be changed? When we get out from input box, onChange. And that moment, call function on user change, and calling function, that function mutate username. How? By set username. And again, here in this row, we don't have a name of, we don't have a username. We don't have username. And but we know, but the connection with username, this value, is by value, argument of input, target and value. Target in value is of input, because onChange is also argument in that input. That input, there is not a good name, not argument, it is properties. It is HTML call it not argument, but okay, never mind. onChange, here is onChange value, and all that is HTML attribute. Input, there is attribute. HTML elements, there is attribute. Function, there is argument or parameter. Okay, onChange, and onChange is of that input. Value is of that input, and event will happen here. onChange would be happen in that input, and calling this function call set username, and all this would be same, only we change this name, but and this name, but would be same for always same, and it is generic expression e.target.value. But here is a variable, what we want, descriptive name of variable. Here is a event, and set username is descriptive name from here. And all that we always write. For other element, here we have only one element, but that we have more element, we can write this as many times as we need, as many times as there is element. We must go to add form, add post form. Look at here, 3 useState, 1, 2, 3, and every there is a target value. Every there is a parameter EE, but different name of variable, on title change, descriptive name, on content change, on author changed, and set title, set content, set user ID. Here it is. Set title, set content, set user ID. But here this is same, and it means that this is a connection with the HTML element. This is connection with HTML element. And now, when we know for this, the structured assignment, and when we write X, Y, Z, W, and some other not descriptive name, we would be lose. It would be catastrophe of code, and because of that we must know descriptive name, and we must know what we do. And useState is super confusion because useState work all for us. It does all for us, and now we know what he do. We know that what is that two variable. We know what is it and how connected with this title, this value here, connected by onChange and by calling this, and scripting know what onChange, because they call onTitle changed, and it is input element here. But only onChange only call this function. But in here onTitle change, in this row, and in this row, We only know on title change, on content change, on author change, but we don't know name of value of HTML element. Here it is. HTML element. We have ID post title. We have a name post title, but we don't use it. We can delete it. We don't need it. It is here. We can delete it. Never mind. Add post form. It is add post form. Add post form. Here it is. Here it is. Work normal. And I can delete it. We don't need it. It is only like it is only for like demonstration what we have, what one input can have, and we need it in JavaScript vanilla. We use that ID. We use a name for get, or we use ID. We use ID for get HTML element and work with that what we want, animation, make visible, don't visible, etc. And it will be a principal job for vanilla JavaScript. Get element by ID, and manipulate with that element. But now this JavaScript version 6 don't need ID and don't need the name, but excellent working without that. I don't need it. Also, I don't need it is post. Oh, I'm on the single title, text area, and here is select text area also. Text area I don't need. And something without what ID and name in JavaScript version 5, vanilla JavaScript, we cannot work without that. Now we work without that, and it is confusion, big confusion with me, big confusion on content change coming from text area. But for me, who work in vanilla before, is big confusion, because there is no name of text area. We don't use name of text area. And okay, on change, content change, but a lot of every element there is on change. How they know that this on change is of text area? No, because of this it coming, and we before must coding name every time, but now we call function, and this function know what call you, what call it, what call her, call text area. But it is some very confused for me, but not confused. It is like that. It is like that. It must be in background. There is a lot of code in background, and this Redux toolkit coming a lot of big help to us, but also Redux, yeah, here is we spoke about Redux, but all that is still on the component, and all that is about component, about use state, not about Redux. All this manipulation on content change, and that on content change call on content change call on content change call set content, and here is set content, here is set content, and connection is on content change. This is connection, and this coming from text area. You must look at that code as I look at. You must thinking about that code. I hope that I help you, because I'm learner, and I learn voicely. I always learn voicely, aloud. I like learn aloud, not programming and math, but geography, history, biology. I work aloud. And now also I work aloud programming through this video. And during my talking, I learn. It is interesting. I never write book that I know advance. I always write book during my learning, and because of that, you will see in history of this video that I know more and more, that I didn't explain all that what I now explain. I now talk about use state, but in many video before that I spoke use state, but never until this video spoke detail like now, because in this video my eyes open, very open, and I ask myself in front of you, in public, in a load, I ask myself how, without name, without ID of HTML element, no JavaScript here, no, that it is element text area. This is text input box, and this is select element, HTML select element. How they know when there is don't use ID of HTML element, don't use name of HTML element, but all what the most confusion produce in my head, all that I like when I try to understand, when I resume something. In this situation I resume that use state. There is a lot of code in background behind to help us. Don't need to use ID of HTML element or name of HTML element. For this video enough, but I think that I talk a lot about React Redux, because I like Redux, and I like React, and I liked Redux, and I like talk about that. if you know somebody who need video like this, say about, talk about on your social network. If you like it. If you want subscribe it, and comment if you want. Any your engagement give us a big good value for all of us what have connection with this video. Community is a school, not community is a better teacher than person, concretely in this situation, than me. Community around this video is better teacher, and people who see that and view that and don't comment, I think that that they understand me, understand my confusion, and get ahead as me. And now they know that I cannot explain all in one video, but also they know that I don't know all to explain. But now is 1 year past that I record video about React, concretely this course React, but I spoke about Redux in some courses before. And after maybe 1 year more, maybe I record one video about maybe 10 hours, like all about Redux, React Redux, and I think it will be excellent for people who get only in this video, because this my video there is a lot of no knowledge, there is a lot of learning, and it is up to you what kind of learning you like. Do you like books maybe? Do you like video? Do you like longer video, shorter video? All is about you. But all this my confusion and my fighting with that confusion is process of experience, and all of you what follow me through that video, you also take experience. Never mind what I said in 10 hours, all what I said in this lot of video. It not help because in 10 hours altogether you must stop and practice, and practice, thinking, and after that get ahead, and again think, get ahead. I would must in description in that case give all a title for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and it will be as a book, and you must read chapter 1 and stop thinking about that, read again, thinking about that, read again, because when I have no dilemma, when I have not confused, I must get faster, and if I get faster through lot of facts, lot of information in that 10 hours video, I don't see a lot of usefulness for a reader, for beginner. I think this video by video will be better for beginner. because they need time, they need discuss, listen, and thinking and experience. Try coding. Try coding. Try coding delete at every list, user list, comments list, replies list. Try. Try it from scratch, and you will see what is learning and what is experience. Thank you for watching this video. See you next time.